Hello, everybody. I am going to adjourn from our closed session this evening from our Benicia Unified School District Governing Board regular meeting on June 10th, 2021. And I'm going to open us back up into open session. So I'd like to welcome everybody this evening, those of you that are joining us from home, and all our guests that are here this evening. Thank you for being here. It's important that we do this work, and I appreciate everybody's time. So thank you. The first thing up is we have nothing to report out on closed session, so we're good on that. And the first thing up will be, let's see, this meeting is recorded for live streaming and on the district YouTube channel, just for all of you to know. And the first thing up is item 7, the Pledge of Allegiance, and I am going to call on Diane for a read sheet. Would you please lead us this evening?
Okay, yes. Please stand and join me in the pledge. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay.
I apologize for that. I got muted.
It's okay. We carried it for you.
There we go. What a team.
Okay. So the next is approval of the agenda. I'd like to find out if I have an approval of the agenda as written.
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Thank you, Mark. And Cece, you're seconding it. Okay, great. Roll call vote, Mrs. Martinez. Here, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Here.
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to move into our reports. Coming first at us would be Dr. Young.
Thank you very much. Good evening, board, and everybody that's able to join us this evening. We have a special guest, and I will talk about her in just a moment, and anybody who's tuning in and watching the presentation. So a couple of opening comments. I just would like to say again that I think we had a really strong closing to the year. This was quite a long 13, 14 months for everybody, but everybody really stepped up beautifully on behalf of our very deserving students. And, they supported one another through the process. We had a great closing, lots of positive. The graduations were incredible. Ms. Kleinschmidt's here, the graduation at the high school at Liberty, and the middle school and the elementaries had this beautiful drive-through. And it just punctuated the end of the year in a very happy way. And it was just lots of vibes. And that's why, I was thinking about that at the graduation ceremonies, that how important ceremonies are to a society, right? Because it memorializes these important moments in our lives rather than just letting them go by. And it was very nice to have them in person. So it was wonderful. Quick update for everybody, just to let you know, we're working like crazy to get summer school ready. It's a real big program this year, bigger than it's been in the past because of the fortunate influx of state and federal dollars to support that effort. So, Human Resources Department and Curriculum and Instruction have just done incredible work getting that off the ground. And it's a good, robust, solid program. Dr. Beatson and Miss Rice did a training over here on Monday, and it was really nice to see. I think upwards of 20 plus of our own teachers that have elected to teach in the summer school program. So it's just wonderful to see them there and going through that all day training. So that's great. And again, we're planning for the fall, and lots to get done between now and then. And I just want to reiterate, I've said this a couple of times in the communication to the public, and I will again. And I think this is the third time I've said it in this venue, that barring any turn in the wrong direction with the pandemic or some different direction from the governor, the commitment in Benicia Unified School District is to do everything we can to return to full-time in-person instruction in the fall. That is our quest. That is our goal. And again, if we get thrown a curveball, go in the other direction, that we'll face that if that happens. But again, that's the goal heading into fall. So that will be our focus. So that's some procedural stuff for you. And now I would like to welcome and introduce a new team member, a new family member, if you will. And it is Dr. Csaa Heidel. There she is. Maybe wave so people see who you are. So I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Csaa Heidel, who will be joining BUSD as the new vice principal at Benicia High School. Csaa comes to us from Sacramento with experience as a teacher, department chair, PBIS team lead, member of her district's technology team, and the 2021 Teacher of the Year. She is currently working at Martin Luther King Jr. Technology Academy in Sacramento. Dr. Heidel's recent work has focused on attendance recovery, academic ELD for English learners, school safety, and working to close the achievement gap at a Title I school. And I always think it's nice to note that Dr. Heidel finished her doctorate recently in 2020. It looks like she might be sufficiently getting over that experience, which is a wonderful experience. It has all of its own stressors. So we're excited to welcome you, Csaa. We just wanted to take this moment to say hello to you and have a face to your name. So we welcome you. And I don't know if you have any to say hello to people. You're welcome to do that.
I would love to just say hello, and I'm so honored and blessed to be part of the Benicia family. So thank you for welcoming me. And as much as I'm enjoying summer, I also can't wait to start. So there's that rest and anticipation that I'm definitely feeling, and I'm very excited for the beginning of the school year. So thank you again. I'm so happy to be part of this team.
All right, welcome. I'm glad you're here. All right, that's it from your superintendent.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Young, and welcome, Dr. Heidel. We look forward to meeting you. I am going to move on to board reports now, and I'm going to start it off just by saying I echo what Dr. Young said. I was fortunate that I was able to be at each of the promotion or graduations that happened in BUSD this year, and I will tell you, it was overwhelmingly happy all the way around between the parents and the teachers and the guardians and the students. Oh my gosh, the energy was palpable. And I mean, it brought me to tears, literally. I was so excited. So with each and every one, there was a different dimension to each one, and I so thoroughly enjoyed being part of it. So great job to all of you guys that put that together. And we're definitely headed in the right direction, as Dr. Young had just shared, that we are planning on being back full-time in August. And I am so looking forward to that, as I believe my colleagues are as well. And I want to thank everybody who worked so tirelessly this year. And you know all of who you are to make all of this happen this year. It's been an incredible ride that I wish none of us have to be a part of anytime again. So again, thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. Would anybody have anything that they would like to share? Mrs. Grubbs?
Well, I'll share how exciting Liberty, I made it to Liberty High's graduation and to Benicia High's. And I have to say, for me personally, it was so exciting to see students that I've had in the past when they were like shorter than me. Well, by the time they were in 5th grade, they were a little taller than me, but boy, was that a tall class. And I just have to say, it was so much fun to see them. I enjoyed every moment of handing out those diplomas and just seeing 300 and some odd happy, joyful kids and those and the families. So anyway, it was great.
Awesome. Ms. Fritchie?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you as well. That's the best part of the year for me, is when we can actually see their faces at promotions and graduations and kind of cheer the kids on. it's always for me, it's kind of poignant in that I'm watching a lot of my students' children now graduating from the district, and that's making me take pause, and I'm trying not to go there and feel older. But I will say one of my highlights of the graduation this year at the high school was my partner, who was Csaa. Watching her when she realized it was her, some of her fifth graders were in the class. It was so exciting for her. So just to kind of make sure, except for a few, Csaa, that I wouldn't let her give their diplomas to, but it was kind of fun when she realized that, oh my gosh, these were my students. So that was a lot of fun. Also, the second thing I want to share is I did my Valero CAP meeting this week, and they were also quite exuberant over the fact that they're going to be able to do the in person, I guess, is the phrase we should be using for their golf tournament this year. So I will be updating and appointing everybody because they are also very excited. So you'll be hearing more about that as well, because that is a big benefit for our school, for our district, especially our Liberty High School. So
Thank you,
all I have.
Mrs. Ferrucci. Appreciate your efforts there. Dr. Moss, do you have anything to share?
Yep, I believe you all captured it. I was able to make it to Liberty High's graduation and loved every moment of it. And so I'm glad that our students were able to participate in that. So it's a good event. So just thank you all for putting it on and making it such a memorable time under these circumstances for everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Moss. And Mr. Maselli, nothing? Okay, then, but he was there. He was at the, yes, Mr. Young, Dr. Young.
I just wanted to also give a quick thanks to Mr. Romero and John Da Silva and the maintenance and operation, man. They play this huge role in setting up graduations. They made everything look beautiful. So just tip our hat to those departments. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't have been done without them. That's for sure. Okay, next up is comments from members of the public. Do we have any comments from members of the public this evening?
We do not.
I'm sorry, Michael, I couldn't hear you.
There are none.
Oh, there are none. Okay, that was easy. So we're going to move on to the next item of discussion, which is the consent calendar. I want to find out if we have I want to know if there's a motion on the floor to accept the consent calendar as written. There are 3 action items on it this evening, and you can see them right there on your list. So I want to see if we have a first. Okay, Diane, thank you so much. And do we have a second to accept this? Okay, Mrs. Grubbs, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Go ahead, Dr. Gill. Just a quick point. Go ahead.
Just Ms. Csaa, I just wanted to point out, as we discussed, that on the consent calendar 11.3, for the classified MOU, there's a change, that is amendment is pending ratification by CSE unit members.
Right. Let me rephrase that. Do we accept the consent calendar action items as written, with the exception of 11.3, that the consent calendar as amended? And then we continue forward. Thank you for reminding me about that. And the first was, I believe, who was the one that did a first on it? I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay, Mrs. Frucci, thank you. And Mrs. Grubbs, you came in and did the second on it. Thank you so much, ladies. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is the discussion items. Yes, you do. Roll call, please. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is the discussion items. First one up is preliminary data review and update. And I would like to welcome Mrs. Rice here to discuss this with us, go over this with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Thank you.
Okay, can you all see that?
Mm-hmm.
So, good evening, Benicia community. My name is Stephanie Rice, and I am the Director of Education Services. And I was supposed to be presenting tonight with Miss Lisa Golson, my counterpart in Ed Services, teacher on special assignment, but she has a family situation that she needed to take care of. So I can only say I hope I give her part of this presentation. I hope I do it well in honor of her. Before I get started, I do just want to give a little shout out to Lisa. She has been instrumental in bringing NWEA MAP into our district, as well as providing support to our teachers to get it off and running. So I am just blessed to work alongside Lisa, and just wanted to say that publicly. So really excited to share this data with you tonight. Why we're here today is to remind you of the factors that will give us the greatest impact on testing performance. Dr. Young has brought that to your attention before, and Dr. Beatson has shared it as well, so I'll remind you of that. I'm going to review the purpose and structure of the assessment as I brought forth before. Give you some initial analysis of the data. This is very preliminary. We finished assessing on the 28th of May, so that was a Friday. We were able to access the data on Monday, which was amazing. But then we also needed to start analyzing it, deciding what we were going to be able to pull and get the board report ready by Friday. So this is the initial analysis that I'll share. We'll have ongoing, and I'll come back to you in the fall with more analysis to share with you. I'm going to share also with you the instruction and programming that links to this, as well as the curricular connections. So those 5 key impacts on assessment that Dr. Young has brought forth to you before is instructional priorities and the curriculum alignment have big impact on assessment. Our assessment practices that mirror assessment, so how we're teaching throughout the year and how the assessment is aligned. The classroom and testing environment, which we know is very different this year. The teacher attitude toward the assessment, and the demographics. Some reminders about this assessment. One, the assessment we chose to give in lieu of CASP this year. We had LEA choice to determine what assessment we were giving. And like I presented before, we chose NWEA because we own the data there. It's basically instantaneous. We get it in a day or two, so we can really utilize the data quickly. And we wanted some data before going into summer, as we're planning summer school currently, and to also plan for next year. The assessment itself is done on the computer, and it's computer adaptive. What we mean by that is that a student, say I'm a 2nd grade student, initially I'm given a test question that reflects 2nd grade mathematics. And depending on how I answer that question, the test adapts, either getting harder or providing more scaffold or becoming less rigorous of a question. The assessment is a growth measure of assessment. So next year, we will give it in the fall, we'll give it in the winter, and we'll give it in the spring, so that we're not only getting individual data and where that student is ready to learn at that moment, but also growth over time. It is a normed assessment. It actually was a nationwide normed assessment, and now it is also done globally. Lisa and I were having a conversation earlier today, and it's normed every 5 years, and it was last normed in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. So what you'll see is our scores in comparison to pre-COVID scores. Right now, they're actually norming the COVID scores, and that also just shows how responsive the company is. So hopefully in the fall, be able to bring back to you on how we're doing in comparison of COVID norm scores. But when it was normed last 5 years ago, I think they had about 6 million people in the norming. And then in 2020, it was somewhere around 9 to 10 million. And now over COVID, when we were talking to our rep, they're closer to, or not million, sorry, 1,000, closer to 30. And it's just grown enormously over time. This assessment also is correlated to CASP and ACT, SAT. We were talking to a counterpart in another district that gives this assessment, and they found it to be very closely correlated to CASP. After about the 2-year mark of giving the data, this is our baseline year. And then I'm also going to highlight the areas of strength and the areas of struggle that we have found thus far. I'm just sharing with you some of the testing vocabulary that you'll see. I'm not going to go through all the data slides with you. So as you're looking at the data later and you're wondering what some of the terms are, you can go back here. You're going to see a Writ Score, and that is a scaled score based on the zone of proximal development. For those of you out there that remember that. And the important part of that is this is an assessment that measures the student's knowledge at that point. So it's not age-based, grade-based, grade level-based. When you get that Writ Score, it's what they know and what they're ready to learn. And that's that zone of proximal development, what they're ready to learn. Now they do also, NWA does provide us with the normed Writ Score. And what that is that child's Writ Score in comparison of the norm level. So that's where you see in comparison of their grade or the grade that they're in. And then baseline, like I shared with you, this is our first official time across the board to give this assessment. I'll share with you what the average scores are that they expect and what they expect as a baseline. The scores that I'm going to share with you again are compared to pre-COVID assessment. Again, it's measures progress over time, that's growth measure. You'll see standard deviation that tells you that plus or minus that amount would account for the majority of the testers, about 2/3 of all test taker scores. Your goal is to have that standard deviation less than 15. That means your instruction is reaching most of the students. Now, of course, that's not saying that we're reaching all of the students. I will be sharing with you data that's broken down by grade level. I also will be sharing with you data that highlights 2 of our student groups. I didn't bring all of the student groups forth because of the sake of time. Again, we got the data on Monday and had to have it done by Friday while planning summer school, etc. No excuses, but we're not there yet and we didn't want to rush it. So we're still analyzing all of that. And some of the big takeaways that you'll see in these data charts are our baseline scores for BUSD. Our baseline scores for BUSD are higher across the board than the predictive baseline that's nation normed. And again, that's nation normed pre-COVID, and we're taking it COVID. You'll see that in mathematics, numbers and operations is a strength across all of elementary. You'll see that number systems is a strength for middle school, and algebraic thinking for high school. Vocabulary across the board for elementary, middle, and high was a strength that came out in all areas. So we brought this data slide in so you can see some of the ways that NWEA reports out on their data. You'll notice the colors across the top mirror the colors that we present to you when we share CASP: the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, and the blue. What you'll notice on this as you look at the data, you can see, for example, in 5th grade, we have almost 19% of our students in the red for math, 11% in the blue, 23.7 in the green. So that's our proficient and above. One thing, as we're looking at the data, we're noticing that in elementary, it's pretty much a bell curve as far as how the data is presented at first glance. And as you move down into secondary, it becomes a much more positive slope as far as how many, like 8% in 11th grade are in the low, 36% are in the high. Some of our wonders are percentage of completion of their math courses. You'll see over here, this is the percentage of students that completed the assessment. So we're also required to report out our completion rate. I shared with you before that they wanted us to still reach for the 95% completion rate, but we're not held accountable for the completion rate due to COVID. We needed to show due diligence, and we definitely did. In elementary, of course, we have the highest percentage rate. We had the most students in person in elementary. Middle school, we're at 90%, and high school, we're at 80%. One thing I do want to point out with high school is this is not students that attempted to take the assessment, for one. We only get scores if they fully complete it. So students that did not complete had opportunities to log back in, but we don't have all students in person, so some of that was out of our control. Also at high school, we were only back in school like 2 weeks before giving this assessment, and they were also in the midst of taking AP exams and final exams as well. So definitely we put forth our best effort there, but there are other, other things happening at that time too. Then we have how we're doing in reading. That also, you can see looking across the grade levels here on how they're doing low, average, high, high, average, and high. Similar percentages to completion rates for these assessments. You'll also notice that it's a positive slope across all levels. So this data shows us across the board how they're doing, and then it starts breaking it down into the Writ Scores like I was talking about earlier. Let me move you here. So here I have 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. This is our Writ Score here, so that average across the grade level. This is the normed Writ Score, so 189 compared to 188 for districts that have been giving this assessment more than a year. And then I highlighted in the green the baseline assessment Writ Score, the norm score, which they expect. And again, I just want to remind you that this is what they expect for baseline assessment pre-COVID. We haven't got the baseline for COVID, so I hope to bring that back to you in the fall. So as you look at the baseline, we are above the normed Writ Score in all areas. Our standard deviation here again, are we reaching about at least 2/3 of the population? You're targeting 15 or below, so we're on target there. You can see our areas of strength across the board, and these are some of the bigger areas of struggle. Like I said, we just started kind of digging through the why, but it's interesting to see that, we focused this year on essential standards. I think focusing on essential standards, we still did quite well. But one area, for example, in mathematics, we use the essential standards, and geometry in some areas was just very lean in the instruction and recommendation from Achieve the Core, which CDE it uses to put out the essential standards. So that was just an interesting piece as we were looking at it, and as we're looking forward into utilizing essential standards. Here. And then here is our elementary reading. Again, you can see we're above the expected baseline for first time administration, which again, I think is very commendable for our teachers that gave this assessment during this time, our students that took this assessment, and our parents that were home also supporting this assessment. Here's our areas of strength. In A, there was not a predictive area of struggle out of the data that was provided, and that goes along with the standard deviation, et cetera. There was not an identified area of struggle for elementary. For the grade level as a whole, let me add to that piece. Besides the data that we're looking at as far as this, breadth across grade level, it also breaks it down to school site, which I don't have tonight. Principals have been pulling that. And then it also breaks it down for the teacher level. And when I'm a 4th grade teacher, I can go in and I will see each individual student, their areas of strength, their areas of struggle, as well as it groups students according to skills and strands that you may pull a small group for these particular 3 students that are struggling, say, with informational text. And it also gives suggested activities for you to work with those students on. Here is Benicia Middle School and how they compare to the baseline score and where we are. Again, above level. Here's our area of strength in mathematics, the number systems, and here's the area of struggle overall as the grade level. And then we have the middle school 6, 7, 8 in reading. Again, area of strength being vocabulary across the board, and no areas of identified overall struggle. Again, that doesn't mean that there aren't individual students or student groups having that struggle. That data is presented to the teachers so that they then can instruct in those areas. And that's the real impact of this assessment. Here we have high school, and this is math. Again, our baseline score pre-COVID compared to where we are, the recommended compared to where we are. And our algebraic thinking, and then in 12th grade number systems was the strength, and statistics and probability across the board. So this is important data too, when we're looking at a grade level. As an individual teacher, I'm really going to be drilling down to my class, but as a department, I'm going to be talking about when we have this overarching theme, we're going to be looking at, our curriculum, how we're delivering this, and kind of deducing why this is a common theme across the board. And here we are in reading. Again, baselines above the predictive measure, vocabulary being our area of strength, no areas of struggle. 10th grade had 1, which was information texts. And then we have the scores just like I was sharing with you, but we just started pulling our student groups. So tonight I have for you our African-American student group and our Hispanic student group to share. So we have African-American, I highlighted in this gold manila folder color, and then Hispanic in the blue, just because we have a lot of data here. And then I highlighted in green, just as I did on the other slides, the expected baseline score, again, pre-COVID. We do not yet have the baseline score for COVID. So you can look across here for African American in second grade. Their score is 184, Hispanics 188, and then our district mean score, which I shared just a bit ago, at 188, and then the normed baseline being 181. And then this is the standard deviation for our African American students and the standard deviation for our Hispanic students. So each of these is important, obviously, to see where we are as a district, start really digging down on how our different student groups are performing, and then also looking at 2/3 of that group. Are we supporting the larger number of that group? We want it to be, we want to target for 15 or under. So here we're above 15. So that's going to be a notice. And next steps, which again, this is our baseline, but next year, what also is looking at individual school sites, individual students. Let me scroll down. Oh, that was really too fast, and I apologize for that. Here we go. So again, looking across at where our 10th graders are, 237 African American, 232 our Hispanic student group, 244 is our district average, 231 is the targeted baseline, and then we're at 16.6 for our standard deviation and 21.9 for our Hispanic group standard deviation. I'll leave it for a moment so you can look over it before I go to the next slide. And here is our reading. Same process across the data table. Again, for example, our 8th grade, our African American students, Writ Score is at 210.9, and our Hispanic group is at 219. Our district Writ average is 223, and 220 was the targeted baseline. And here's our standard deviation. I'll give you a moment to look over that data chart. And again, this data is attached to the board agenda along with the vocabulary. So when you start seeing the acronyms at the top, there is a code for that. So many acronyms in education. And then my next slide talks about how we are using the data thus far and some of the curricular connections that we have. So we're utilizing the data for our summer school planning and information on our students as, again, just one measure, but it really does drill down. And one of the platforms that we're using for summer school is Imagine Learning. We have that in reading, we have that in mathematics, and then there's a math facts strand. And it connects to NWEA map. So we're able to use the map data to help us with the focus there. We're also looking at utilizing this data to start our intervention groups in the beginning of the year. and also to form our groups throughout the year, as well as give information for the classroom teacher for that first best instruction to really drill down and see where that student is and where they are able to learn. And if I take on a small group, I can really teach into this area. And sometimes, as we're teaching our standards and our curriculum, we definitely get, a lot of information, but we may not see either where the kid is really accelerating in or already have knowledge built, or also where there might be some holes that we can easily go in and fill to help move them along in their grade level. And NWEA MAP really drills down to those specific skills. It's not necessarily standards based. They do tag it to the standards, but it really drills down to skills. Like what is that child ready to do here, and where should I be supporting them? So again, that goes with standards focus. We attached a document on learning targets from NWEA, so you can see an example of what I was just talking about. And then some of our curriculum that we're using to really support the acceleration of our students, again, is Imagine Learning, like I just shared. We have Lexia for elementary, which is a reading-based support and acceleration program. Khan Academy, and Khan Academy is directly linked to NWEA MAP, to where when the teachers get the results and it will say the student is, struggling in the skill of comparing fractions with unlike denominators, and will give you the lesson in Khan Academy that can support that student. And then also, this summer, we're piloting News ELA, and it connects with that as well. We just attached some of the resources that we have provided throughout this year, or the end of the year, for the assessment, as far as communication to families, teacher support. And I just want to, again, give a shout out to Lisa Golson. She really provided robust support to our teachers. She created a Padlet with videos that she made and information for the teachers to assess. And then I would just like to end this presentation because, again, this was just one measure in a really challenging time. I think what you have seen is a reflection of really hardworking, resilient BUSD scholars, hardworking teachers, and really supportive parents. I think it's important to remember that even though this is a really tough year, learning did happen. And this quote here just really speaks to me. It's from Henry Ford. It says, "When everything seems to be going against you, remember that the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it." We definitely felt like we were flying against the wind while we were building that plane mid-air this year. But our students always just strive to do their best. I want to say congrats to BUSD class of 2021. And I hope everybody has a really restful summer, because we've put a lot of work in this year.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Rice. Let's open it up to any conversation here. Any questions for Mrs. Rice from our board? Hands, so you did a great job.
I think I see Diane, sorry.
Oh, sorry, okay. Oh, I see Mrs. Grubbs too.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the data. It's so revealing, isn't it? Even in this time of COVID. And so I just wanted to say that's it was super interesting. I think I went through your presentation, I don't know, 4 times, and learn something every time, and great job. I appreciate that. I know it's been really a hard year, and so thank you.
Thank you, Cece, for that. And but yes, and there's lots of data to be digging through. You know, we're taking notes as to wonders, revisit, connections, and it'll be really interesting when we take it in the fall to see how it compares. Thank you.
Mrs. Ferrucci?
Yeah, Stephanie, I just had a quick question. There's some really great data that comes out in this, and I'm really appreciative that Benicia has taken on the NWEA. Will teachers in summer school have access to this so that they know exactly where and how and what type of support students will need, or are we not there yet?
So if I'm teaching summer school, say, I would have, the teacher has access to their former class. So our teachers that come back in the fall will be able to access their past data. They'll also be able to access their current classes data. Right now, the way we're rostering for summer school, the summer school teacher does not, but we're pulling overall trends. But with the Imagine Learning platform that we're utilizing, the kids do a short kind of baseline activity too, because this again was one measure in time that will also drill down and pinpoint. That's something that Lisa and I are also looking into as we're utilizing these platforms. How is the data in comparison to what we're getting here and making sure things are aligned? So because it's summer school and the kids were not their students assessing at that time, they won't be able to just pull it up that way. No, we're just putting together trends.
Okay. All right, great. I just was curious if in fact there was going to be a connection for them or not.
And the biggest connection there, which we were, as again, preliminary data, which we were pulling through, for example, in math, pulling forth some of the skills that were identified, looking across the sites areas and pulling out some of the individual students, looking for trends. We're really focusing on some number sense as our focus in summer school for mathematics, because that's the foundational piece of all the skills that were really identified. So that's how we're able to use it kind of on a quick turnaround.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you for all the work. It was great.
Oh, yes.
And I look forward to seeing the rest of our district when we come back in the fall.
Me too. Yes. Thank you to Lisa Golson. She's a whiz with data.
Yes, she is.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes.
We appreciate you. Dr. Moss or Mr. Maselli, anything to add?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Mrs. Rice. Excellent presentation, and I really appreciate the data as well. So thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. All right. I'll be back in the fall. Well, you'll see me one more time tonight, but back with this in the fall.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. That was interesting information. That it'll be interesting to see how it progresses in the future. We're going to move on to item number 13, our non-consent action items. The first one is 13.1 is consideration and approval of curriculum adoption for middle school science, high school oceanography, and high school AP world history. Mrs. Rice, we'll welcome you back again for a moment. You didn't have to go far.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Again, really excited to bring forth 3 different curriculums to you. One focused on middle school and the other 2 for high school. Even in the realm of this really challenging year, teachers really felt compelled to make sure that we have materials for our first best instruction. I'm going to first start with bringing forth the recommendation to adopt Amplify Science. This comes from our middle school 6th through 8th grade teachers. Just to remind you, when teachers pilot, they look at several different curriculums, and then they narrow those down, looking at standards alignment, program overview, inclusivity, universal access and assessment, and then they get in and pilot some material. The middle school piloted 3 different programs, and they unanimously and really excitedly want to bring forth Amplify Science. It is one of the top rated curriculums in Ed Reports. Some of the things that came out of the discussion with BMS Science is it's, of course, NGSS, Next Generation Science Standards aligned. But with that, it also reflects the assessment that they take in 8th grade, which is cast in the way that the questions are asked, throughout the curriculum and in its assessments. So that's wonderful. But the best part is that it's really engaging to the students. There are different ways that they present the material, from videos to interactive read alouds, etc. It's really problem based. They unanimously talked about how it really promotes critical thinking, and that the students had an easy time using the platform. So it was very intuitive. So that being said, that was done in COVID, and they were like cheering over it. They started piloting pre-COVID and now piloted 2 different programs COVID, and this came out at the top. So they, asked me to bring this forward to you. They think it will be great for middle school and are really excited to have a really strong, solid curriculum that everybody will have to use across the board. Any questions on Amplify Science?
No, I don't think so. And then we have the high school Oceanography and high school AP History.
All right. So the next one I'm bringing forth to you is Oceanography. It's Essentials of Oceanography from Pearson, or formerly Pearson. Now they're Savvis. This is for our 11th and 12th grade Oceanography D-Lab Science course. And as it was reviewed in all of those areas that I presented, it is a 4-point scale. It measured in the 3 to 4 range, primarily in the 4 range. Some of the key points that were brought out was that it, again, like before I said, it really creates opportunities for critical thinking. It has a mix of the sciences. Sciences don't stand alone, and they talked about it really addressing the standards through physics, chemistry, and biology and geology in this way, making the connections for oceanography. And then they also talked about it being accessible to multiple levels. And often that becomes a struggle once we get to high school. And being able to use the textbook on its own, or the online component where, there's interactive pieces, there's read aloud for the text, and there was also different vocabulary tools that enhance the experience for the student. Also not utilizing the online piece. There's also different QR codes that they click on and it takes you to a video to explore it further. So when speaking, with the teacher, they said that as students find interest in different things, they can take it further for their learning throughout this textbook. So they were excited about this one and wanted me to bring it forward for your approval as well. And then lastly, tonight I have traditions and encounters. This is the 2020 updated version. This is for our 10th grade AP World History. Just to remind you, we used to have AP Euro, and then we brought forth to you 2 years now, AP World. Thank you. Time runs together right now. 2 years ago, we switched to AP World, really to have more of a lens of equity and inclusivity, and not just have the AP Euro approach. This textbook being updated to the 2020 version, AP is College Board leveled classes, and College Board took AP World and basically broke it into 2 courses, and this text focuses on AP Modern for College Board. This is one of the texts approved on the College Board site. And then when debriefing with the teacher and going through the different components, again, it's scored in mostly the 3 to 4 range. Some of the highlights were, again, really a robust and expansive presentation of the material. It's, of course, aligned to the AP assessment, which our AP courses need to be. When I was discussing this with them, it mirrored the questioning of the AP exam while providing some just really in-depth discussions within the classroom. There also are a lot of scaffolds and access abilities brought in through the online component. The teachers, one of the reflection was, again, like the text to speech. For either your students that are struggling accessing this level of text, but not just that, the teacher acknowledged that there's a lot of reading and research done in AP level courses, and students get fatigued. So the students can choose to also listen to it. And so they have choice in how they're taking in the information. There are various diverse, obviously, in this course, perspectives brought in to the history. And let's see, it's in lots of multimedia as well. So this one is for 10th grade, again, AP World Modern. And we bring forth the approval of these 3 curriculums.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much again, Mrs. Rice. I'd like to find out if I have a motion to approve the curriculum adoption for the middle school science text, the high school oceanography, and high school AP World History textbooks as presented by Mrs. Rice. Do I have a first?
I'll move.
Thank you, Mrs. Ferrucci. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Maselli. That's fine. Sorry, Mrs. or Dr. Moss. We'll get you next time. Okay, so we'll move on to item number 3. So the motion passes. Roll call. Roll call. Yes, please. Yes.
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 Okay. Thank you. Motion carries. Item 13.2 is consideration and approval of the 2021-22 Local Control and Accountability Plan. And we welcome Dr. Beetson to the stage.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. I am excited to bring back to you tonight for your approval the strategic plan LCAP. We had it at our last meeting for a public hearing where I went through all of the detail and opened it up for public comment. I do want to highlight a couple of things and remind us of what's in that plan. It is attached to your board packet as well as the presentation. If you need me to go back through any of that, I'm happy to. But I want to remind you that we went through a very thorough stakeholder engagement process, which actually lasted over 2 years because we went into COVID and we weren't able to create that first LCAP for this current year. All of the actions and goals are based on data and that we'll be tracking to see our growth in those areas. It includes 4 goals. The first goal is around social emotional learning and sense of belonging for students. The second goal is around meeting literacy and humanities standards across all areas and eliminating the achievement gap. The third goal is math and STEAM, again, meeting the identified standards and then being able to apply and support those standards in the STEAM areas for all student groups and eliminating the achievement gap. And then the fourth goal is around equity, removing barriers and providing access for students in all educational opportunities, and then also creating a feeling and sense of value and belonging and bringing kids' cultures into the classrooms and multiple perspectives. And so that is the fourth goal. One question that had come up last time, and we talked further, and Dr. Young and Mrs. Rice and I had the opportunity to meet with this just this afternoon, right before this board meeting, was with the Willie B. Atkins program out of Vallejo. It is part of our LCAP. We had originally thought that we would provide scholarships for students to attend that program over in Vallejo. And the more we talked about it and consulted with the members there, we do want to go forward with opening a chapter here in Benicia for our students. And that Willie B. Atkins program, just to remind folks, which is part of Goal 4, is a very intensive, high quality, robust program to serve African American students. The goal being getting them to move on to college and career. So they meet every week for 3 hours. They do things such as resume building, interview skills, dressing for success, public speaking, community service, all kinds of things. There's also field trips where they'll take them to historically Black colleges. They help them write FAFSAs, all kinds of great things, and in really sort of a mentoring environment. And so after more further conversation with them, we've decided to open a chapter here in Benicia and to remove any barriers for students who couldn't make it over to Vallejo to access that program. And so tonight I'm bringing to you the strategic plan LCAP to pass as is. We're committed to this work, and I'm going to open it up for any further questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bateson. Do any of my colleagues here have any questions for Dr. Bateson? I know we went into this in depth at the last meeting. It was a lot of information, good information. And I just want to say, thank you for opening up the Willie B. Atkins at our district, to help our students. I appreciate that being added. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Frucci? Yes. You're muted.
Sorry. I actually do have a comment. I want to say thank you for all the hard work, because I know that's amazing. And I think the opportunity of Just Pride is going to be a good change. But I have something I'd like us to ponder as we move forward. I was recently in a CSBA training, and it seems kind of like wordsmithing, but I want to know if going forward we can, as a team, discuss the idea of dropping the word all and using the word every student. I know it seems like semantics, but when you start to really think about it, there really is a difference. So I'm just going to put that out there and just say maybe at some point going forward, could we talk about that?
That's a good point.
Yep. We can certainly talk about that, Ms. Ferrucci. It's a good point.
And I also wanted to say thank you, Dr. Beatson, for all of your efforts and just really bringing, first of all, detailed information for us, and then also doing everything that you possibly can for student success, since that's what we're in the business, of course, to do. So I think that's excellent that you all decided to bring a chapter here for students. And so I just want to say I really appreciate that. And I know that the parents will appreciate that as well, as our community, just, period. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a team effort for sure.
Mrs. Grubbs, Mr. Maselli, anything to add? Okay, then. I'd like to see if we have a motion to approve the 2021-22 Local Control Accountability Plan. Do I have a first?
I'll
Okay.
move to.
Dr. Moss. I'm going with Dr. Moss right now. she got missed on the last one. And do I have a second? Oh, last two, sorry. Do I have a second?
Give it to
Scrubs,
Susie.
thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Mrs. Martinez, can we get a roll call vote, please? Yes.
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 All right, then it is approved. Thank you so much, Dr. Beetson. Moving on to item 13.3 is consideration and adoption of the 2021-22 budget for the Benicia Unified School District. At this time, I'd like to introduce Timothy Rahill, who is our Chief Business Officer, and he is going to share with us items on his screen, I'm sure also, or just in words, whichever. Welcome, Mr. Rahill.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here tonight, and we have this action item for you tonight to adopt our school budget for the upcoming fiscal year 21-22. And just like Dr. Beetson mentioned with the LCAP 2 weeks ago at our last meeting, she presented the public hearing on the LCAP with all the detailed information. And right after that, 2 weeks ago, we had the public hearing on the school budget for next year with all the detailed information. And so nothing's changed between now and then. I'd be happy to go through those slides again. We presented that. It is a positive certification for the budget, which means we are providing for the state's recommended 3% reserve, plus our local board policy reserve, which is about another 4%. And that will indicate that we are providing a positive certification for our budget next year. We are currently using the latest information from the state, which is the governor's proposal in the May revise. The state legislature and the governor's working hard to get a final budget by June 15th and then governor's signature before the end of June. But as a school district in California, we're required to put a budget together now, use the best information we have. And once that final budget is adopted and signed by the governor, we come back to you at that first meeting in August with any changes. I will share that as of now, we're really not hearing of major changes that would indicate there might be some additional positive impacts to the budget, but we have not seen any major differences from the governor's May revise. Again, more to come when the state actually adopts a final budget and Governor Newsom signs it. So with that, we're asking you to adopt our budget. That is the same one that was presented 2 weeks ago at the public hearing. I'd be happy to go through the slides. Once you adopt the budget, we submit that to the Solano County Office of Ed, as well as the California Department of Education. And then we come back to you in early August with any impacts from the state adopted budget.
Thank you, Mr. Rahill. I'm going to, if any of our board members have any comments or questions to ask of Mr. Rahill at this time. If not, just shake your head no. I can see all here. No. Okay. So then at this time, I'm going to see if we can, if we have I'm tired. Consideration, no, the adoption of, sorry, I'm tired. Adoption of the 2021-22 budget at the Benicia Unified School District that Mr. Rahill has presented. Do I have a first? Mrs. Frucci, yes. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Moss. And can I get a roll call vote, please, Ms. Martinez? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We got it. Thank you, Mr. Rahill. moving forward, right? Okay, the next item on our agenda is consideration and ratification of the tentative agreement for the 2021-22 school year between Benicia Unified School District and the Benicia Teachers Association. Dr. Gill, we'd like to welcome you to discuss this with us.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, distinguished trustees, Dr. Young, community members, cabinet, and staff members. As always, I shouldn't say as always, as past few years, we have been negotiating with our associations. This year also has been amazing. So we negotiated with both Teachers Union and CSEA, but I'll share the information regarding the Teachers Union first. With BTA, first of all, before I even start sharing any data, any information, I really would like to take the time to thank our BTA association leaders, negotiation team members, and all of the teachers for the incredible job they're doing. We are so thankful to them. Anything and everything we can do to support them is our honor and our pleasure. We actually met for I want to say approximately hour and 43 minutes. We actually timed it for negotiations. And we are one of the few districts who have already completed negotiations for 21-22 school year. It's not very common for people to do that. So we are very proud of that. And I also want to thank the board, Dr. Young, and our CBO for helping with the numbers, because the numbers, the salary raise, those type of things did help a lot. It's pretty amazing that we are able to do what we are doing right now, is offering the kind of praise we're offering. It's really amazing. And so we sunshined 4 articles. We met one session, hour and 43 minutes. So that's we were laughing at that time, and we were done with negotiations. So Article 2, which is wages, is going to be 5.3 ongoing increase to the salary schedule. And then Article 5, benefits, basically, I believe its difference was a few dollars, maybe $12 something, to cover Kaiser Law. So our commitment is to with BTA that we will cover their Kaiser Law for full-time employees and prorated for part-time employees only. And so that's that. We also had been working on the evaluation article for several years. I believe Dr. Beatson started a pilot in 2016. Since I joined the district in 2017, I have been part of it. So there was a committee of us, I want to say like 14 of us working on that committee, even since I have been here. And finally, after piloting this article for 3 years, we have been able to finalize this article, and not only the article actually, we changed the model to Danielson's model, which is a very positive opportunity style model, growth model, as compared to reactive model. And we also updated the forms. So it's a huge accomplishment. I want to congratulate our team, especially all the members of the evaluation committee, and Dr. Beatson, who actually started the committee way back in 2016, the teacher side and also the management side, for their ongoing resilient work to get this done. And then safety committee, safety article 8, we started working on it, but we decided we also have a committee on that as well. And we will continue working on the safety articles during next school year. And our goal will be to hopefully finalize it next school year and bring it back. So it will be open for negotiations for 22-23 as well again. And so Ms. Whiting, who is our new BTA president, thank you, Ms. Whiting. She actually emailed me the results that Friday evening, late Friday evening, that time when it was passed. And her actual exact sentence was, it was almost unanimous. So I'm assuming based on that, it's like almost 100%. Again, that's my assumption based on that sentence. Could be between 90s or something like that. So it's really great to hear that. And the financial impact of this tentative agreement is 1.4 million $18,377. We also did update one more MOU with the BTA, which is while we're implementing a grading system, which is also working on ARIES, we updated, extended the MOU for providing kindergarten through second grade teachers 1 day per trimester to work on their assessments or report cards, whichever teachers choose. So so that was just extended. We'll see how that goes with the ARIES and if there's a need for that in the future, or we'll figure that out at that time. So that's the summary of our 1 hour 43-minute conversation.
Well, that 1 hour and 43 minutes was used very well. I can say that. That's awesome to hear.
It was a very, very positive meeting. It did not feel like negotiations, which is amazing.
Oh, that's terrific. Do any of my colleagues have anything to add to that or have any questions regarding this? I'm seeing heads shaking no, so I think we can move forward. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to find out if we have a motion to ratify the tentative agreement for the 2021-2022 school year between Benicia Unified School District and the Benicia Teachers Association. Do I have a first?
I'll move that we approve the tentative agreement between BTA and management.
Thank you, Mr. Maselli. Do I have a second? Don't all be so polite. Okay, Mrs. Scruggs. Thank you. I will need a roll call vote. Mrs. Martinez, please. Yes.
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 Awesome. So that is now taken care of. Thank you, Dr. Gill. But you didn't go far because you have another one to present to us. It's now item number 13.5, consideration and ratification of the tentative agreement for the 2021-22 school year between Benicia Unified School District and the Classified School Employees Association, Chapter 1096, pending ratification by the CSAA unit members. And you're up, Dr. Gill.
Thank you, Madam. Same as BTA, with CSA also, our negotiations were amazing. We really appreciate our CSA leaders and negotiation team members as well, and the district management and members who sit on that negotiation. Everybody did an amazing job, super positive, really, really well done. So I'll go over that as well. And so with CSE as well, we had sunshined 4 articles, and we met for 2 sessions with them. And I do want to say they emailed me today. It actually has been ratified by the unit members, and they did tell me that it was 100% yes vote. Which is very rare. I don't think in my past 4 years we actually have had that. So that is actually the first. That 100% pass vote on a TA. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And so with the CSE as well, overall, it is a 5.3% raise. So what we did with CSE was we basically said that you have a choice to either take the 5.3% raise all on salary, or you can split between benefits and salary. So they decided to split between benefits and salary. So salary, it will be 4.7% ongoing raise, and then our benefits, it will be 0.6 on benefits. So with CSA as well now, that any employee with CSA, any employee who works 35 hours per week and considered a full-time employee, they receive full-time benefits. So they will also be receiving Kaiser Law for employee only. Okay, so actually that makes us feel good that based on this, that our CSA employees also, we had been working for so many years in the past to kind of fill that gap, that now we would be able to say a full-time employee in Benicia Unified School District does receive Kaiser Law for employee only. So it's really great accomplishment for us as a school district that we are able to take care of our employees and provide a great health benefit to them. And both teams decided not to make any changes in Article 13 and Article 17 after shorter discussions. And the financial impact of this agreement on the district is $538,988.
Dr. Gill, did you mean Article 3 and Article 17, or did you mean Article 13 and Article 17?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Article 3. Yeah,
okay.
Article
Just
3
wanted to confirm.
Yeah.
Before
Yes.
we went forward.
I put actually these two things first, since these were identical. Just have them together. Yes.
No worries.
Yes.
I can't even to move now. Darn it. Okay. So then, at this point, do any of my colleagues have anything to ask about regarding this? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, then I'm going to ask that, or see if we have a motion to ratify the tentative. Well, I guess it's not tentative any longer, right? It's
passed.
Okay, so it passed. So the agreement that was made for the 2021-2022 school year, the agreement that was made between Benicia Unified School District and the Classified School Employees Association, Chapter 1096, and it has been ratified. We have just received that information. Do I have a first to approve that? Thank you, Mrs. Fritchie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Grubbs. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Mrs. Martinez? Yes.
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 Motion passes. Excellent job. I am so happy to see this get done so quickly. It's nice. More than 1 year in a row. Yay, you guys. Okay, thank you, Dr. Gill. We are now going to be moving on to item 13.6, which is the consideration and ratification of the total compensation package for the 2021-22 school year between the Confidential Management Classified Certificated and the Benicia Unified School District. And I'm going to welcome Dr. Young to share with us at this time.
Thank you very much. So we had an opportunity to come in front of the group that you just mentioned. The Confidential Management Classified Certificated had the conversation about the 5.3, gave an opportunity for them to vote on which way they wanted to go. And they voted to put 4.7 towards the salary schedule and the 0.6 to increase to applied medical benefits. So bringing to you for your approval that vote by that group. And again, as Dr. Gill said, this is a nice opportunity for the district to get everybody's medical at the same level. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about it for years. It's a big deal for us and our system. And so we're just thrilled that we're able to do that. So I bring that for your consideration and approval.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Dr. Young? Go ahead, Mr. Massad.
I had a question. I didn't. This is the first time I've seen it like this. It seems like with BTA, there's like a tentative agreement with the group, and then with CSA with the group. The management, when you look at what was put, the stuff attached in our board packet, it's a lot different. So is management not looked on as a group per se, like BTA or CSA? Because I noticed even the lingo is different. Instead of a tentative agreement, it's a total compensation package. I mean, I'm not against it. I just, maybe I don't understand. Are they not looked on as like a group per se, like BTA or CSCA?
Dr. Gill can help me with that. They are, but I guess since they're not a union, we use different language for them and talk.
I was just curious. I'm not upset about it.
I think it's different language because it's not
That is accurate. We're a small district. We don't have a management unions. Big districts actually do have management unions. We don't. So basically, management kind of takes whatever is given to them. They don't really negotiate. They don't really say, yeah. So that's why it's really not. But it is. I do meet. I'm the one who met with them. And shared the information, shared the same exact package, which basically saying option A, you can take all of the money on salary, or you can split. Same thing what we shared with option A and option B, which we shared with the CSA, same exact thing we shared with them also. And actually then we actually had them vote through a Google survey. Mm-hmm. So they took a Google survey, and about 60%, 51.9%. said that they would prefer 4.7 and 6%.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
And then also the financial impact of the management confidential is $357,397.
Okay. Thank you. I think we lost Mr. Maselli. I don't see him on my screen anymore, so I hope I answered his questions. At this time, I guess, I don't know, should I wait for him to show back up?
Yeah, well, you can. You have a quorum, but you can.
Oh, give it 1 minute here and see if he shows back up.
Oh, he said his internet's sketchy.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move forward. I'd like to see if we have a motion on the table for the ratification of the total compensation package for the 2021-2022 school year between the confidential management classified certificated and the Benicia Unified School District. Do I have a first? Do I have a motion? Thank you, Dr. Moss. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Fritchie. So may I please get a roll call vote, Mrs. Martinez? Yes.
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 Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. My internet's getting real sketchy. I've been dropped 4 times. I mean, my answer's yes, but I made my phone my hotspot, so hopefully I won't get dropped anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Maselli. So motion passes. So that's great. Now we're moving on to item 13.7, consideration and approval of the amendment to the contract between the Chief Business Official, Timothy Rahel, and the Benicia Unified School District. Dr. Young, take it away.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to speak on behalf of Mr. Rahel, who's been our CBO for the last 12 years. Mr. Rahel's contract necessitates that any increases to his compensation is brought before the board for your consideration and approval. And so his compensation, as you see in your packet there, is at that same amount, which is 5.3, which is the customary practice for us. And I would like to take just a moment and let everybody know what a terrific job Mr. Rahel does. It's been a real honor to work with Tim over the last 6 years. And I don't know if people know this, but in addition to running the business department and ticking and tying and making sure when we give a raise, we can afford it, and being very conscious about the short and long-term fiscal solvency of the district, Mr. Rahel is also in charge of a number of departments. He's also is in charge of the bond and Measure S, and he works with Ms. Egan. He's the leader of the food services department with Ms. Courtney. Also, he oversees maintenance and operation and the technology department. And I just wanted to put that out there because a lot of people think a CBO just has that one task. Well, it's that and many other things. And he's just a real trusted member of cabinet as well. And real proud to have Mr. Rahel on our team. So it's with great honor that I bring his contract amendment to you this evening for consideration and approval.
Thank you. Dr. Young, any comments or questions? I mean, I agree with what Dr. Young just stated about Mr. Rahel. You're awesome. So, I think I speak for all of us. Did anybody else have any comment or question regarding this? No. Okay, then I am going to see if we have a motion on the floor for the ratification of the total compensation package for the 2021-22 school year between, I'm on the wrong one, sorry. Approval of the amendment to the contract between the business official, Timothy Rahal, and the Benicia Unified School District. Do I have a first? Thank you, Mr. Baselli. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Frucci. And can I get a roll call vote, Mrs. Martinez? Yes.
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 Thank you, Tim. We're going to keep you around for a while. Thank you so much. Okay. We're going to move on to item 13.8, consideration and approval of the amendment to the contract between Superintendent Dr. Charles Young and the Benicia Unified School District. And Dr. Young, you are you're going to speak upon this yourself here, I think.
Actually, I would love to speak on my behalf. I'll start by giving an opportunity. I think I turn it over to the board as I got 5 bosses. Actually, I got 1 boss because we're supposed to all act together. But I turn it over. Why don't we start with you? Because I think it comes from you guys.
Oh, we're supposed to say something here? I didn't know that. I wasn't prepared.
I can frame it for you. So, like Mr. Rahal, with my contract, any increases are brought forward for your discussion and full approval. And so I have presented for you the adjustment would be to move over 1 step on my 5 columns, and that would be my last one. It was started 4 years ago. And then like we've done the last 2 years, that I would also receive the same compensation as the other groups of 5.3. And that what we've done in the past too is to add an additional year to my contract. So those are the parameters of the modifications to my contract.
It's 5.3, correct?
Yes.
5.3. Okay. Okay. Then I am going to ask if there's any questions of our board members or any comments on this. And I'm seeing heads shaking no. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with the approval of the amendment to the contract between the Superintendent, Dr. Charles Young, and the Benicia Unified School District as a step over and a 5.3% increase. And I'd like to see if we have a first. If anybody wants to make a first. Okay.
I'll do it first.
Mrs. Frucci, and do I have a second to approve that? Thank you, Mrs. Grubbs. I appreciate it. Guys are all fighting for it.
They practiced.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, so can I get a roll call vote then, Mrs. Martinez? Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Young. Great job. Okay, so the motion passes. We're cool with that. And next item is 13.9, consideration and approval of the job description for Equity and Opportunity Coordinator. And I'm going to welcome Dr. Gill back to share this information with us.
Yes, good evening again. I just realized all of the next items are mine. So I
yes.
For a while.
I'm glad you didn't leave. I'm glad you didn't go anywhere.
Good evening, everyone, again. So majority of the job description that we're bringing forward, these are new positions. Also,
Can somebody mute themselves? I'm hearing background. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. They're being added. So with the COVID funding, with the LCAP, with the temporary funding that one-time funding, we have majority of them, not all, I think. I also have Dr. Beatson, 2B doctors fairly soon, Dr. Krona and Dr. Regis as well, because I'm hearing that celebrations are coming forward in the near future for both of them to become doctors. And
Awesome.
yes, so they're also here in case you have any detailed questions, but I will try to do what I did in the last board meeting, give you a summary. If you have any specific questions, they would be happy to answer as well. So I'll start with the first one, which is 13.9, consideration and approval of the equity and opportunity coordinator. This is a position we have been wanting in our district for a while. We have been talking about it since actually last year. I remember I wrote this job description way back, I think about a year and a half ago, originally, but it never came to a point where we were able to bring it this far. I'm so glad we are bringing it this far. This position, I believe not I believe, actually, I do know that Dr. Beatson presented as part of the LCAP, and which was approved tonight, is a 50% position that is to really continue the great work that is already being done through Dr. Beatson's and Ms. Rice and everybody else's with their leadership, and Dr. Young's leadership as well, to continue moving forward on that work and actually be more focused on it. So that's the intent of this bringing this job description forward. And our request is for you to approve this so we can actually post this job description, post this position.
Thank you, Dr. Gill. Okay, colleagues, anybody have any questions before we move forward? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I have
Okay.
questions.
Sure, Mr. Masali.
So looking through the job description, I don't see anywhere where it talks about it being temporary. And we hear year after year about how we're declining enrollment and all these other issues. And do we want to take on positions that are going to be a drain on I get if it said temporary somewhere where I could see it because we have the COVID funds right now, but long term, I could see all these new positions becoming a drain on the general fund that, we're told we don't have money for because we're not a growing district. So I'm not against the position. I'm just wondering where the money is going to come from.
So, Mr. Masali, that's an excellent question. Maybe I should have said this earlier. Let me actually make that disclaimer for all the temp positions. So when we write job descriptions are written as neutral. When we post the positions and when we hire in positions, the employees are hired and the positions are posted as either probationary or temp. So job description, once approved, it stays in our system for a long time until we change it or we eliminate it. But the position by itself will be temporary when we post it. And when we bring it to you, move forward to hire the position in a PL, that will say temporary as well.
Okay, I get it. We're approving a position. We're not approving a person in the position. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's not, I'm really worried about creating 4 new positions in the district.
That's correct. You're just approving the job description. You're not, yes, that's correct. Because you approved positions in the LCAP, which Dr. Beatson had listed in there, that's temporary. And now you're just approving the job description. And then when you will approve the person, it will say temporary by their name.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Gill, for the clarification on that. Any other questions? Okay, so then at this time, I would like to see if we have a motion on the floor to approve the job description for Equity and Opportunity Coordinator. Do I have a first? Thank you, Dr. Moss. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Scruggs. At this point, we'll do a roll call vote, please, Mrs. Martinez. Yes.
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 Okay. Thank you. The motion carries. Item 13.10, consideration and approval of job description for Department Office Technician. Dr. Gill, take it away.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So this is the this is a job description. It's a generic job description of an office technician doing more or less clerical work and so on. But let me kind of attach it for this purposes right now, what we will be hiring with this job description as of right now. So in the LCAP tonight, we had wellness centers had right, 3, well, those are temporary positions as well, 3 of them. So those office technicians will be hired for wellness centers. They will be shared by schools. So the 3 of those will be hired under this. Then another person, part-time, 50% will also be hired for student services office. Actually, with student services, we actually used to have an employee, Liberty High's former office manager used to do student services work because she was a year-long 12-month employee, basically. And after she retired, that job became a true office manager job, which is, she was full-time, 8 hours and 260 days. We reduced that job to make a true office manager job, which is basically, and also at Liberty, the kids are not there as long of a day as the elementary or middle and high school kids are. So that job actually was reduced to, I believe, 6 hours and also only a less number of days. So the part of the job that Liberty office managers used to do for student services is needed. So we are requesting that we will be hiring a part-time office technician for student services office to continue those jobs, such as home hospital, helping with SARB, those types of duties that they were done by the Liberty office managers before.
Thank you, Dr. Gill. Are there any questions or comments regarding this item? Okay, I don't see any. So at this time, we're going to see if I have a motion on the table to approve the job description for equity and, the job description for department office technician. Do I have a first?
I have a first.
Okay, Diane Ferrucci, thank you. And is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Moss. Appreciated. Motion carries. Next item is, yes, you do. Yes, please. Yes.
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 Okay, thank you very much. Move on to item 13.11, consideration and approval of job description for student services coordinator. And again, Dr. Gill, you're up.
Madam. So this position, again, the job description by itself is generic, but this is also a temp position. As we all know that due to COVID, our students actually do need a lot more support on many different areas. Formerly, some of our special education staff, such as the mental health coordinator, will also play a role in some student services things, but they are now super busy. Even last time we had approved a position for a mental health clinician. So as we know that temporarily for next year or so, that is a high need area for student mental health. So we are bringing forward just to provide, have staff temporarily to provide support to our students through this position, so that they can help with the counseling department and any other duties that are needed to help with student services.
Thank you, Dr. Gill. Any questions or comments? I'm looking at everybody's really serious faces. Nope. Okay, so I'd like to see if we have a motion to approve the job description for student services coordinator. Do I have a first?
Yes, let's go.
Dr. Moss, yes. And do I have a second? Dr. Ferrucci. Wow.
I'll take it.
Okay, Mrs. Ferrucci, thank you for that. And so we're going to do a roll call on that. Mrs. Martinez. Yes.
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 We only have 2 more items left. Hang on. We're almost there. 13.12, consideration and approval of job descriptions for CDU program manager. And Dr. Gill, would you please present?
Yes, ma'am. So for CDU, if I am understand this correctly, this job is permanent. Is that correct, Ms. Regis, Dr. Regis? Yes. So this position actually is being funded by the CDU department. It is not an impact on general fund. And they actually have started, which we are very proud of. Thank you, Dr. Regis. I'm going to start calling you Dr. Regis now. And they have been doing an amazing job, not only with the CDU program. As we all know, the CDU employees have been working since July, and they have done an amazing job with the preschool, before and after child care, right? It's like really amazing. But another piece they have been really doing well with is adult school. They have implemented so many adult school new programs. Dr. Regis had provided information to us previously in the presentation. So in order for them to be able to manage all those programs, they just need more support, a more clinical type of support, but a little higher level clinical support. So they're asking a CDU program manager. This will be more of a not confidential management type of position, but it's a classified management, so that when they have some of the items that need help, this Dr. Regis need help with actually managing the program, so that this person will be able to help with that along with clerical. It's not clerical only. So my understanding is that their coordinator, existing coordinator, Erica, will take more role of the adult school program. She will start helping with that with more, and this person will help more with CDU program.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Almost Dr. Regis. Are there any questions or comments? No? Okay, so at this time, I would like to see if we have a motion on the floor to approve the job descriptions for CDU program manager.
I move that we approve the job description.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maselli. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Dr. Moss. The doctors and Mrs. and Misters are getting me tonight. Thank you. So do I have a roll call vote, please, Mrs. Martinez? Yes.
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 Thank you. So that motion carries. We're going to move on to our final item of the evening, 13.13, consideration and approval of updated job description for school nurse. Dr. Gill?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The school nurse, Dr. Peterson, could you please clarify for me, is this a permanent position or temporary position?
It's a temporary position.
Temporary position. It is a temporary position, but I do want to start with by saying our one and only nurse in our district, health coordinator Terry Dean, is so amazing. I've never seen a district this big with just one one nurse. Typically districts have 2 or 3 people our size. So she is, I don't know, how does she do it? I can't imagine taking care of 7 schools, all these students by herself. But as we also know, with everything happening with the pandemic, especially students, our goal is to bring students full time back, right? If we want to reach that goal, do that, we know there will be a lot more help needed, specifically with all the things that they need to do from health perspective. So we are requesting to have this job description approved so that we can bring a higher temporary school nurse. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we can find one, because that finding the school nurse is also typically a challenge, but we're going to work on that, so that we can provide support to our students and making sure we are not only taking care of their mental health, but we're also helping them with their physical health.
Thank you, Dr. Gill. This is very important, and she does a remarkable job. So it'd be great to get her some additional help for this upcoming year. Are there any questions or comments? Nothing. So at this time, I'd like to find out if we have a motion on the table to approve the updated job description for a school nurse. Is there a first? Thank you, Dr. Moss. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Ferrucci, excuse me. And may we have a roll call vote, Mrs. Martinez? Yes.
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 Well, there you have it. Motion. Oh, yes, Mr. Maselli, before we close off.
Yeah, before we close off, so these new positions we've created, Dr. Gill, I just want to make sure, let's say theoretically that we get people hired for this upcoming school year, at the end of the school year, because like we talked about the budget, there is an influx of COVID funds, but that's not always going to be there. Are these new created positions going to have to come up for approval again for the 22-23 school year, 2 years down the line? I just want to make sure that we're not just approving something that's always going to be a part of the budget now.
So anytime we hire a temporary person, which we are hiring a lot of them, classified teachers and these positions, they will all be released based on the timeline that is allowed by the Ed Code. Majority of it is March 15th. We like to follow March 15th. They'll all be released at that time. And in fact, classified positions work a little differently. Classified positions, we're going to be hiring. When I say classified, I'm talking about CSEA positions, all CSEA temp positions classified. They will be hired on a short-term contract. So they'll come to you to be released. So, for example, the nurse position, the student services coordinator, equity director, coordinator, all, and then also these positions, office technicians, they will be hired on a short-term contract because we will not have them have work more than several months, because after that long people become, it's very complex. Long story, yes, they will be coming to you for leasing. And then if as a district we decide that we want to have temporary positions, some of them for 1 more year, then they will come to you again for approval. Then they will come to you again for leasing.
So, Mr. Rahill, if I could ask you, how are these positions built? Are these positions temporarily built into your budget for 1 year, and then you wait and see if they're brought back before you put them in? Because there's a lot of FTEs that are just there. They're part of the budget because those are people that are there on a yearly basis. So structurally, where would these new positions fall within your budget?
Yeah, they definitely are. They're temporary. They are one time for the 21-22 school year only. And in our conversations that start next January, we start the conversation about whether or not the district wants to continue any of these one-time positions into 22-23, but they will not be built in unless we have those conversations and the board gives us direction to do so.
Thank you very much. That clears it up for me. I appreciate it, you guys.
But I just want to clarify one more thing. That clears. That's for everybody except, with exception to the CDU program manager.
Right.
Okay. Just I want to make sure we all know that.
Yeah, because that comes out of a separate pot, not the
all
general
right.
pot.
So
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Not only the positions, also some of the positions previously approved. So yes, that is correct.
Excellent. Great meeting tonight, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Happy summer. Enjoy. And we'll see you on the flip side at some point. Thank you.
Don't we see you next week?
Yeah, next Thursday, man. We'll be back.
The short flip side.
The short flip side. Then we're out of here. No. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.